So we're going to get straight into today's presentation and get through 10 powerful ways to drive traffic to your website. I'd like to start out today by thanking the ASBAS program. Obviously, this is part of the National Federal Government's ASBAS program. So it's brought to you by Business Station Western Australia, Regional Development Australia, and Treaty Business Consulting. So I'd really love to thank those for bringing us this today. I am going to turn my video off throughout the presentation, just simply because when I'm talking all the time, I have myself coming back at the screen at me and it's quite distracting. So I'll be able to get through the presentation much easier today. For those of you that don't know me and haven't been to a session of mine before, my name is Kerrie Saverin and I'm the co-founder of Altitude Business Solutions. So I'm a digital business consultant. We work with Facebook page management, online learning and website design. So with over 20 years business management experience, and I have a couple of international marketing awards as well from when I had my own business. So a little bit about me there for those of you that don't know me. So if you have any questions throughout the session today, please don't be afraid to put them in the chat. I will be asking you throughout the session if you have any questions, and welcoming you to unmute yourself and ask those if you would like to. We do have 30 registered guests coming in today. So whether everybody is here live or whether they're watching the replay, hopefully you'll get a lot out of this. So you're in the right place today if you're ready to increase your website traffic, which in turn will increase your search engine optimization or search ranking within Google. So people start a website for a lot of different reasons, and there's normally one of two things. First of all, they would normally spend a lot of time building it themselves. We normally find most business owners that we deal with have one or two things, and that's time or money. So you've either spent a lot of time building your website yourself, or you've spent a lot of money paying somebody to build it for you, and then you wait for the magic to happen and then nothing happens. And you go, well, I built this great website. Why isn't anybody going to it? And why isn't anybody using it? So hopefully today we'll get through some steps for you that will help you out in that department. There is a little bit behind getting people to your website and making sure that things are set up properly. So hopefully you will get a lot out of it. And this is my boring picture of the day. So this is part of my technical difficulties. My original slideshow with all of my slides, unfortunately, either didn't save or had an issue. So I've gone to open it up this morning and I have nothing there. So as I said to you, I know the content very well. I'll be able to talk to you about it. But you may have to look at this little guy with a smile with a couple of eyes, because he was the only slide that actually came across besides my welcome slides and my end slides. So I am going to be going through the content, but have yourself a piece of paper and a pen. You will receive a copy of the recording. We are recording this session today. So you will receive a copy of the recording. And just to say thank you for your patience, I'm going to be adding a little bit of a bonus. So I'm going to be giving you one of our ebooks and I'm going to add that as a bit of a bonus today. So everything that we discussed will be in that ebook and you will be able to go through and read it and get lots out of it. So I'm just going to get straight into it. Before I do, does anybody have, would you mind like putting into the chat just a couple of things about what you'd like to get at today? If there was anything that you would like to know about today, just if you could put that into the chat for me now, and I'll make sure that we try and cover it throughout the session today. So when it comes to having a website, we all need more website traffic. I don't think there's any of us, regardless of how successful our website is, that wouldn't like more website traffic. And when you built your website, you obviously had great intentions. You know, people were just going to turn up in the thousands to your site every week. And, you know, you dreamed of maybe writing blogs that were shared by hundreds of people and even having the occasional article that went viral. And that's normally what happens. But then you build the website and then you literally hear crickets and nothing happens. So getting traffic to your website isn't as easy as what most people think. And, you know, you might get 5 people per week to your website, you might get 100 people to your website. But it turns out that just obviously simply having a website is not the only thing that makes people come to it. In the movie Field of Dreams, as an example, he said, if you build it, they will come. It's not that way with websites. You have to actually be doing a few things. So yeah, there's a few things that you need to do. So when it comes to your website, you need to have a strategy to get more web traffic. You need to have some tested methods for generating a steady stream of website visitors, and some tactics and maybe some hacks for getting people to visit your site and engage with your content. So those three things is really what you need to have make your website more successful. So we're going to be hopefully going through some of those today. Now, obviously, if have a website that's an e-commerce website, well, traditionally more traffic means more profits to you. So it's affecting your bottom line. The more people that come to your site, the more people will become aware of your brand, of your product, and may purchase. So, but you have to be you have to have certain things on your website and have great content as well to be able to build that relationship. You'll become more known in the industry. People will see you as more of an expert based on your website. That's a really big one. And the more that you are known and the more of an expert you are seen as, the more likely you are to get sales from it. So what I want you to think of a website as, because a lot of people don't feel like they need a website, or maybe they just know that they have to have a website, but they don't really know why. So what I'm going to say to you here is, in the world of online and online digital, which is the way we all live, unfortunately, these days, we all jump on our mobile phones and Google when we're trying to find something. And so our digital footprint of our business is very important. So you want to make sure that you have as many points of contact with people as possible. And to give you an example is, let's say you were looking for a local restaurant and you were to jump on, go, oh, I don't really know where I want to go. I want Italian and I don't know any Italian places close by. I'm just going to get on and do a Google search. So you'll do a Google search for Italian restaurants. And there's a few things that you're going to do. First of all, you're going to have your top searches that come up, and that is very related to Google and your search engine optimization, which is something we will talk about. But based on that, let's say you go to the first one. Now, normally what happens is the first thing that people look at there is, do they have any reviews? What are the reviews saying? If it's got a 3.5 star out of 5 star, you can nearly guarantee they're going to go to number 2. So if you have a Google My Business page and you are not focused in on getting your 5-star reviews, then that's important for you, particularly if you are a bricks and mortar business or a restaurant or a cafe, something along those lines, then you need to have those 5-star reviews in there as well. I can give you some tips on how to get those. So once they've decided, okay, based on what I can see there, I'm going to now search, they actually start looking for other points of reference. So, and amazingly so, they'll start looking for their favorite social media platforms. So they might look for, do they have a Facebook page? Do they have an Instagram, etc.? And then they're also looking to see if you have a website. Now, what they're trying to do is people like to do business or give business to people that they like, know, and trust. So if you've been to my webinars and workshops before, that's one of my key takeaways is people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. But from a digital perspective, when they're initially doing their search, they can't like, know, and trust you because you've got to build that with them. So from a digital perspective, they're looking for clarification that you are a reputable business. What are their reviews like? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have a website? What's that website like? So all of these little points from a digital perspective are actually getting them to know, like, and trust you. So when they go to your Facebook page, they, might see all your special offers, and that's great, but they might also see some behind the scenes of your staff or behind the scenes of what it is that you do, giving them confidence that you're an expert in your field. So with your website, it's very important that you have certain things on there, but also that you have that personal touch and that you're cementing yourself as an expert. Now, for those of you that have been to our website, you'll know that I find it very difficult to put myself out there on camera, and it's something that I'm working on. But having a video on the first page of your website that is you talking to that potential customer can make such a huge difference. So you're on Zoom here today, so I know that you have the technology to be able to film a video, believe it or not. So you could film a video of yourself talking about your customers' problems, talking about or your potential customers and potential clients' problems, and really introducing yourself as a person. Even today, for those of you that had never met me before, you may have seen a picture of me, but now you're hearing my voice. And so you're starting to get more confidence in the type of person that I am and the type of expertise that I have based on that. So if I was to be brave enough to pair that with the visual aspect of me actually talking and being on the website, you can see quite easily how that would build up so much rapport. And the thing that I find too is that it's very unusual for a website to have this. So your competitors may not have. Sometimes people have, flashy videos that they've got professionally done. And I'm not talking about any of that. People like to keep it real. So keep it real, people. So, a video of you talking about, I got into the cafe industry because I was passionate about coffee, and my great grandfather, he actually used to have a coffee shop, and what the story is behind you having a coffee shop. And when you visit our coffee shop, we like to think that it's a relaxed atmosphere where you could sit down, you'd have a business meeting with someone if you needed to, or relax with friends. So you can see how a video like that would get people going, oh, that sounds nice. And, he looks like a great guy. I would like to go to that cafe. So that's a really good tip for you. If you're brave enough to be able to put yourself in video on your website, it is very, very attractive to somebody. So you'll notice a few changes in our website over the coming weeks as we go through it all. So you can see how important website traffic is important to your business. Your website could be generating a lot of business for you, or it could be just cementing the fact that you're an expert in getting people to give you a call. We don't all have e-commerce websites, okay? So we're not all about just selling online, but it's about getting people there as well. So the question about, that's great. That sounds great, Kerrie. How do you get some more traffic? Like, that's great that you can have a video on your website, but how do you get more people to your website? So I'll get straight in and just grab my little notes on the top 10 tips, and we'll start off. So number one, the first, I'm going to call these traffic strategies today. So we're going to be going through 10 of them. So the first one I'm going to go through is creating amazing share-worthy content. Okay, so it's hands down the best way to get traffic to your website. If you want people to come to your website, it's crucial to give them a reason to come. So I've seen the questions that you've put there in the chat, and that's fantastic. Can I just get a show of people, I guess, telling me a little bit about your business? It's just like a quick one line. I just want to be able to pick somebody out and give some examples there. So the type of business that you have, are you a dog groomer? Are you, just so I can have some ideas would be great as I'm going through. So, Elle, the imaginative play, I love this one. That is great. We've spoken about this before. So motorcycle touring guidebooks. Oh, I have an idea for that one that I might share with you later as well. Patchwork pattern designer, great. Organise and experience travel experiences to North Queensland. Electrical solar installers. Oh, wait, we need to touch base. I need one of those. Online personal development, decision making, great. Excellent. 360 virtual reality photos. Okay, excellent. Gee, we've got some really unusual businesses in the room today. This is great. Helping make people make better decisions. Personalised timer and education products. Wow. Fitness and leisure centre. There we go. It's really interesting to me the type of businesses that we attract to a webinar like this. So that's great, guys. It's giving me a really great idea of what I'll be able to pull out during the session also. So this number one traffic strategy is creating amazing share-worthy content. Now, we're talking about not only articles and blogs and that type of thing, but you need to create content that attracts people and that they'll feel compelled to share with other people, if that makes sense. So if you think simply post a short, uninspiring article, you've been doing a blog that's, you know, a day in the life constantly, people are not going to constantly share that. So it needs to be content that is relevant to your industry and cements you as an expert. So, you know, there are millions of pieces of content available on the web, on the internet. So you being part of that is really important. So what do I mean by relevant content? Yes, I could be talking about a blog. For those of you that are familiar with blogs, absolutely. But it could simply be that your website has a page that is dedicated to certain parts of your services. So I'm gonna pull out, who will I pull out? Let's see what I can give you an example here just to make it a little bit more personal for you. So what did I see? Let's see. Electrical contractors and solar installers. So there would be, I'm assuming, different types of solar installations that you do. There would be maybe, I'm trying to think of an example, would be a non-for-profit solar installation. As an example, so somebody that's wanting to save money for their non-for-profit organisation, or even maybe they have their own business and they're wanting to put solar onto the roof of their business to help with their costs as well. So what you need to think about is think about that particular customer, just that customer in general, and what questions would they be asking if they were searching on the internet about solar. And for me, they're probably going to be searching something like, how does having solar save you money? Okay, so think about, you know, that from a concept. So yes, you're a solar installer, and the benefits of having solar are that it saves you money, that it's clean and efficient and great for the planet, etc. So I would be encouraging you to not think of it as writing articles, but thinking of it as giving information as to why somebody would want to install solar, because that's what they're going to be looking for. Their first initial searches when they're thinking about doing something like solar is, how much money is solar going to save me and how does it help the planet? That could be two of them. So you would have pages dedicated to information on those things. And when people read that, that cements you as an expert in your field, because in that you understand the impact that electricity has on the environment, or the current way that we're doing electricity has on the environment, and the benefits of having solar to fix that for the future. So that's just an example of the type of content. So I know people get stuck a lot in blogs, and I just wanted to mention it's not always about blogs. It's just about you taking your your expertise that you have and sharing it in a way that people are going to be receptive to it. So based on that, you might have that page and somebody might go, wow, that's got great information on there, and they might share it with somebody else, or they might keep it for later. But in any case, it's cementing you as an expert. And there are millions of pieces of content published each month across the internet. So I understand that it can be very hard to see through the white noise of it all. I get that. But you have to start somewhere. Getting people to your website is a long game. It's not a short game. So you have to think for the long term in the future. And if I'm honest with you, it does for me, if you're looking at doing it organically and not paying for Google AdWords or something along those lines, it does take 2 to 3 years to build up that traffic. So just keep that in the back of your mind also. So you want to make sure when you're writing those little things also that there's something just a little bit unique and different about it as well. Another example that comes to my mind that I'll share with you was a building and pest inspector that I dealt with last year. Their point of difference and something that was a little bit unusual was that they actually used a sniffer dog to sniff out the termites. He was a very cute little, I think he was like a dachshund or something along those lines. And he would go through, and that's how they would find the termites. So they'd send him in first, and then he would say, hey, I think there's termites here. And then they would do an inspection and find them. So that was a real point of difference. So they were obviously, that was a lot of share-worthy content because people were quite wowed by that, and it was a real point of difference. So if you have a point of difference in your business, then it will, if you are sharing that out, it will make a big difference as well. So you need to consider how you're going to stand out from the crowd, I guess is what I'm saying. So that, you know, how can you create content in a different way and different formats for everybody, but also different things that you could share also. Now, the best way to stand out from the crowd is obviously to create that valuable content, because anybody can go, I'm an awesome solar installer, you know, you should come and do business with me. But aren't we sick of seeing that? Aren't we sick of that kind of sales process? And I think, you know, particularly in the digital world, we are. So they're wanting to see people who know what they're talking about. They're really passionate about what it is that they do, and they're able to get that across to people, and content that answers people's questions about the pain points that they're having. You know, that's the number one way to market to any of your clients, regardless of what industry you're in, is being able to market to people based on their pain points. So what are the pain points of your clients? What would they be searching? And make sure you have that content on your website. It's going to get them thinking about your particular business in a different way and how they might be able to fix it. So when people ask, you know, how much content do I need to have on my website? I say, look, it's a slow build. I'm not expecting you guys to go out and create 25 pages tomorrow or pay somebody to create 28 pages. I'm just wanting you to be conscious about the type of content that you're putting on there, making sure that it is relevant to the client and that it is share worthy also. I want you to think quality over quantity. Like, you don't need to have a lot if it's quality content. So, you know, making sure that the content is covering those pain points for your clients. You know, why are they coming to you in the first place? So when creating content, you need to ask yourself a few questions. And I would be asking myself things like, would I want to read this? And sometimes, honestly, I write a blog sometimes and I go, oh my God, this is so boring, I don't want to read this. And I do have to change it up a little bit. And there's a number of blogs still on my website now from when we very first started that I go, oh my God, I need to change them because they're so boring. Does this add value to my readers? You know, is somebody going to go, oh, that's a really good point, I'm glad they pointed that out. Is it share worthy? So not every piece of content needs to be share worthy, but certainly something that people would go, oh wow, it would be great if such and such knew that and they shared it on. Is it different from your competitors? Does the content answer the reader's questions, and does it speak to the reader's pain points? There's those key points there about that. So I can appreciate if I'm wanting to save money on my electricity bill, that's a very financial pain point. And I will say it's the financial pain points that do normally get people in. So if you can find something that's going to help them save money or get time back or make them feel better. So if I was to think about my business to use as a bit of an example, I help people get rid of the overwhelm that they have when it comes to online digital marketing and technology. And if you've ever sat down with someone who's been trying to figure out their email processes for the last 2 years, and then you sit there and in 5 minutes you can show them how to do it, the relief on their face when they get it all sorted is that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. So really think about the pain points of your client. You know, when you've got great content on your website that covers those things, you will have traffic coming to you all the time. Here's a little tip that I do want you to write down. If you are struggling for content ideas, there is a website that you can go to, and it's called answerthepublic.com. Some of you may have heard of it before. Answerthepublic.com is a free tool. You get 3 free searches a day, I think, from memory. So for my example, let's say I was wanting to put some content on a website about solar. I could simply type in the word solar, and it will crawl the internet and it will find me every question that anybody has ever asked in Google about solar. So that will give you your titles. You can go through that and you can go, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yes. Sometimes we just need clarification. So answerthepublic.com is a website that you can go to help you with the content titles and to find out what your customers and clients are possibly searching on the internet about that particular subject. Traffic strategy number 2, I'm going to talk about very briefly, but it's very obvious, is making sure you share your content and your pages across your social media platforms. So I want you to think of online digital marketing as a bit of a star. And you need to get the 5 points of the star so that people can get to know, like, and trust you. So let's say 1 point's a website, another point might be a Facebook page, you might have a LinkedIn profile, you might have an Instagram account, you will have obviously you'd have your website. So you want to cover as many points as you possibly can. So sharing your website out across your social media platforms will get you traffic to your website, absolutely. But it has to be shared in a way that people are receptive to it and they want to go to. If it's not share-worthy content, don't bother. If it's boring, don't bother. I know that when you go to things like Facebook as an example, they don't like external links. I know that. But if you're posting in a way that says, hey guys, was dealing with a customer this week and, she had a terrible time with her roof leaking after solar was installed. So here's some tips. Here's some 10 tips for making sure that your solar installer is reputable and the things that they can do to stop your roof from leaking. Probably a bad example. I can hear you all shaking your heads now. So, but you get the idea. That kind of thing is going, oh yeah, how many people have leaky roofs after they get solar put in? Or how many people have issues after they get solar put in? And it's because it hasn't been installed properly or there's been an issue. So that would be an opportunity to be able to get that. I can see someone who's asking me to actually put that website in. I'm pretty sure it's answerthepublic.com, but if you guys Google search Answer the Public, it will come up. It is the #1 website. So Answer the Public will help you get your titles for your content. So sharing your content multiple times across your social media platforms and profiles is perfectly fine. You don't have to just share it once and that's it. You can revisit certain content as well. So you could have a bit of a strategy where you go, that particular piece of content is important. I'm going to share that out once every 6 months across my social media platform. I want people to see it. So not all of your followers are going to be on social media at that particular time. So if you have an understanding, for example, Instagram, if you were to post something on Instagram, it really only stays relevant for 24 hours and then it's gone. So if you're not reposting it again down the track, people don't want to repost. They go, oh, I don't want to repost the same thing, put a slightly different picture or make something slightly different if you want to, but you can share the same content out multiple times and it's highly recommended that you do. So when you share your content on social media, you are actually getting into people's lounge rooms. That's what I like to say. Social media is done flicking in between ads, when you're sitting in a lounge room watching TV, or, before you go to bed, or sometimes when you first get out of bed in the morning, depending on the type of person you are. So you're in their social time. So it's about your business coming up in front of them and giving them quality content that they could possibly need and use. Pinterest is a really good way also, just while we're touching on social media here. For those of you that have Pinterest, you'll know that Pinterest is great for getting people to your website because a lot of people use Pinterest these days as a search engine to find out information. So I'm not saying you have to have a Pinterest account, but if you have a Pinterest account, start putting some pins up. The great thing about Pinterest is any content that you put on there, it's been proven actually has a lifespan of about 2 years. So that will still come up as relevant content for 2 years, which is quite amazing. So frustrating it sometimes for some people. I know I've been on there myself, search for something and go, oh, that's great. That looks great. Go to it, read the whole entire article and find out it's from 2007. And then realize things have changed a lot since 2007. So I know someone asked the question earlier about content and how often you should update your content. You should update your content as soon as there is a change. So if you're in an industry that may be heavily regulated by governments, then you need to update that as soon as there is any updates. You can change the date of any type of blog and information that you put on your website. So if we're talking blogs, a blog could be written in 2007. There's a few things that you can do. You can leave the date as 2007 if you want, and then put in brackets updated 2019. I personally think that's a waste of time. As someone who has been to a website and flicked on and seen the date of 2007, I might already have been turned away. There's no way that content could be relevant. So my advice to you would be to change the date to the current date, and that's the date that you updated it. So if I'm somebody that comes along and sees that blog and I see the date of 2019, then I know it's a couple of years old. I'm not seeing 2007. So yes, you can update it. I don't really have a schedule. I know that was a question earlier. Do I have a schedule for updating my information? No, I don't. I just update it as changes happen. So dealing with social media from our perspective can be very hard because there's changes all the time to algorithms. So we don't write a lot of stuff on our website about algorithms for that reason, because we'd be updating it every 3 months, going, now Facebook are doing this and now this is happening. So we tend to steer clear of things that we would have to update. But Pinterest is a really good way to get people to your website from a social media perspective. And it does last a long time, which is good. If you're also looking for some social media scheduling tools, I know people often ask, I'm actually surprised it hasn't come up as a question. Normally it does in this point. There is a few that you can use, things like Buffer. You could use Later, Later is another one as well. Or for those of you that have the pro account of Canva, unfortunately you can't post to Instagram, but you can post to Facebook through Canva. So that might be an option for you also. So the third traffic building strategy I want to go through today is building your email list. How do we all feel about email lists? Do we get excited when we hear that? Normally not. So email lists can be very hard, but they can be crucial to getting people to your website. If you're adding regular content to your website, you should be emailing your database and letting them know that the information is there. So how do you get traffic to your website? So you can have a pop-up that comes up on your website. And you can do that if you've got a WordPress website, that can happen automatically. You can also, if you're using, for example, MailChimp as the platform to send your emails out, you can have a MailChimp pop-up that comes up. And that's something that you can search for as well. How these things happen is with bits of code that actually go into the header and the footer of your website, for those of you that have built websites and are familiar with it. So MailChimp actually has the service where it provides you with the code. So you create your pop-up and you can say, once somebody gets to my website, after they've been there for 5 seconds, I want a pop-up to come up. We've all been to those websites, right? Where you go through and you sort of trying to search and you're trying to read, and then bang, it pops up. And in there you can say, hey, do you want to join our email address? We have one on our website and people often ask me, why do you only ask for the email address? So on our website, they don't have to put their name in. They don't have to do any of that. All they have to do is give us your email address. We'll start sending you regular content once a fortnight. Now, the reason why we don't ask for their name, and you know how icky you can feel when you go somewhere and you've got to put all your information and your details in. You're like, why do they need to know that? Why do they need to know that? We're about building, we're trying to get people to know, like, and trust us. So we have to take baby steps. Just give us your email address. We'll start sending you content. So we start sending out content. Then in that content, we'll ask for them to interact with us in another way. Why don't you come to one of our free workshops? When they come to one of the free workshops, then because they ask to register their details, but they've already built up a little bit of rapport, I guess, with us. They're feeling a little bit more confident about coming along. So it's just kind of important to have those pop-ups come up and important to be building your email list. But as we all know, but you need to be sending things out to your people to tell them that you've put information on your website. So when you build your email list and you get people in it now, you can build it a number of ways. Pop-ups on your website are great. Yes, excellent. When you're going to your networking events, putting people into your email marketing campaign as well, and just adding them from all different ways so that they're getting it all. So you could give some giveaways as well on your website. That sometimes works. You can say, click, you might have seen it, you know, click here for our white paper on such and such, or for our downloadable PDF on such and such, click here. So that's another way that you can build your email list so that they're getting something, or, you know, for doing that. A discount on a product, you know, give us your email address to receive 10% discount. And the first email they get is, thanks for registering your email address, here's your 10% discount. So they are other ways that you can get sort of emails as well, and that can be in a pop-up, but it does work very well. You just need to make sure that you're clear about what they're going to get. You know, is it a free downloadable? Is it weekly marketing tips? Is it information on how to install solar? What are they going to get? And make sure it's going to, for the solar one as an example, I keep going back to that, I'll pick somebody else in a minute, but you know, you might go download a free PDF on the top 10 questions, top 10 things that you should know before installing solar. You know, that becomes something that I would put my email address in to get as well. You guys know that there's lots of different email marketing software as well. I don't need to go through that. I use MailChimp because it's easy and affordable for me. But there are many other programs out there that you can use also that will help you with your email marketing. So traffic strategy number 4, guest posting. Now, this is a little bit different and it's probably a little bit outside the box, but I don't just want to talk to you about things that are the standard. So guest posting is, look, if you're like most people, you probably don't have that much of an audience when you get started with creating content on your website. That's why you're here today, because you want to get that. So it's to be expected when you first start. It takes time to build. I get all of that. You know, you've got to start small. So don't beat yourself up too much about it. But even if you don't have a large audience, there's always still ways that you can get content in front of lots of people. Now, guest posting on somebody else's website allows you to tap into their audience. So this might be something that you consider also. Now, with guest posting, you can benefit from the work that they've done building their audience. So if there's somebody that has a really good following on their website, you can guest post on there, and that's going to help build your credibility and get links to your website. So you might get, you get a few more followers, you'll get people looking at your services, and it's just something a little bit different as well. The most common way to get a guest post on a website is to simply ask them. So if there is a reputable website, or maybe there's someone that you think is a complimentary service, then you could post on their website as a way for you to get traffic to your website. So contacting people and saying, hey, I've got some information that I'd love to be able to share with your viewers on this subject, and I think it's very in line. And if they could link back to my website, that would be great. Would you be interested? So, or it may very well be that there are people in this room today who have complementing businesses. So have a look through those list of businesses that you saw earlier and think, well, you know, sometimes you're kind of in the same field, but you're not really in the same field. People niche down in their businesses a lot. So to give you an example of, you know, a dog groomer, you could be a dog groomer that specifically deals with poodles. And there may be another dog groomer that is in the, obviously that's the same industry, but they particularly deal with sausage dogs. Like that's just an example that I'm giving you there. But you guys actually have complementary businesses where you might be able to feed off each other. You've niched down into a particular breed of dog, and they're complementary businesses to each other. Or you may be a dog groomer that just does the grooming and maybe doesn't do any dyeing or anything like that. So then you might go to another complementary business that does that. So that's a really good way to be able to get your complementary businesses and have a blog on there as well. Before I get to the next point, I'm just going to go through and answer some of these questions that are being put into the chat. I'm not ignoring you all, I'm just conscious of time as well. So do I have any tips on using coupons with the e-website? So thanks, Steve, for that question. So I'm just going to get you to clarify a little bit for me though. So tips on using coupons as in like a 10% discount or a buy one, get one free offer. and where you put them. Is that what you're wanting to know? Like how you can share them out and where you put them? If you could just clarify that one for me, I will answer that for you. And I'm just scrolling back up. I've answered, how often should you change your web content routine, delete old stuff? I never delete old stuff. I do leave it there, and I don't ever delete it. It's always content, so I don't go through it. Just another little thing as well that you might like to know is how Google works is they have these little things called spiders. And the spiders actually crawl the internet for new content on a daily basis. Now you can imagine there's thousands and thousands of new content, hundreds of thousands of billions of new content being added daily. So it can take up to 2 or 3 weeks for you to get your page crawled. There is a bit of a cheat for those of you, and I'm probably getting technical for some of you, but for those of you that have built your own website, you'll know. If you go to Google Search Console and you search for your brand new page that you've added to your website, you can actually ask it to crawl it, and that gets a little bit quicker. So you're telling Google, hey, here's a new page that you need to crawl. So sorry for those guys that was a bit technical for you, but so I'm just going back through, looking at some of these business stickers again. That's great. I know there was a couple of questions right at the beginning. How do you get visitors to stay longer on your website? This is a really good one. So what I'm going to say is there's some reason why somebody has come to your website to read an article or to get some information. So you need to think about when someone lands on that page, what's the pathway for them? Where would you like them to go from there? And if I'm honest with you, it's very rarely is it going to be straight to booking a session with you or buying a product from you. But I think that option always needs to be on that page. And this is a big mistake that a lot of people make with blogs. They write these great articles and then that's it. There is no call to action. At the bottom, there should be a very standard. If you'd like to know more information about it, join our mailing list by clicking here. Or if this article interested you, then maybe you should click here to read this. For those of you that have been to my workshop that I do, which is supercharging your blogging, which is another workshop that I do, I talk about the pictures, making sure that the pictures on your website, and this is another tip, actually link to something. So don't just put a picture up and not put a link in that picture. Make sure it links to something because it's wasted space. Everybody's used to just clicking on a picture and it going somewhere now, but clicking on it and making sure that it goes to something relevant. It could be another article, it could be another piece of information. Within each of your information on your page, I want you to be conscious of talking about another piece of content on your page and linking through to that. So in our article that we wrote, which was the top 10 ways to get traffic to your website, we spoke about this. So you see how that I could then put a link in to the top 10 ways to get traffic to your website, and they may be encouraged to click on that and go and read another article. And what that does is that gets your visitors staying longer on your website. Another clever way is back to the whole video thing, guys. If you have a 2-minute video on your website and it's full of good content or full of good information, they're more than likely going to stay and watch the whole thing. So that's going to increase that as well. And how to, Therese, I can see one of your questions there, how to manage and capture visitors example with a pop-up. So like I said, if you have a WordPress website, there are different plugins that you can get for that. Otherwise, if you're using something like a MailChimp or a CRM system, they normally have pop-ups that you can include on your website as well. Now for me, we have, in my website, we use MailChimp. So I have my MailChimp pop-up coming up. It's very convenient for me. It means I don't have to add them to my MailChimp database. They go straight in there. It makes it very easy. A lot of people ask, I have my MailChimp email list that I email to people, and then I have my CRM system, and they are completely different systems. So you don't go into my CRM system until you're actually a customer and I'm actually dealing with you. That's a totally different thing. My MailChimp is just simply about, growing confidence with an audience and trying to get them to know, like, and trust me. So that's good there. Website traffic for business to business. So that tip that I just gave you about securing a guest post on somebody else's site, that would be a good option for that as well. But you particularly need to look at the social media platform of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very business orientated social media platform. So when you're sharing your content out, you need to be doing it on LinkedIn, and you need to be posting on LinkedIn. Doesn't need to be daily, guys, 2 or 3 times a week max for me on LinkedIn there. So I think that's answered those ones back up there. I'm just scrolling back down here. Steve, thank you for clarifying that question. Yes, both buy one, get one free discounts, and also where to offer them. So when it comes to your discount coupons, yes, you can have them popping up on your website, but you can also use those discount coupons on things like social media, on the back of your business cards. I've seen it, which is another good one as well. So they have their business card printed, and then on the back, to visit our website and receive a 10% discount, go here. So you can do that type of thing. So Patricia's asking, what was the name to crawl to Ask Google? So it was Google Search Console. It's a Google product, Google Search Console. And it allows you to put any page of your website in. It is something that you have to sort of link up. And it allows you to put any kind of website in. And then over to the right-hand side, there's a little button there that says, please crawl this website. So they will do that. So Brad's had to take off. That's okay. He'll get a copy of the recording to go through the rest of it. What content should you include on your homepage apart from the video of yourself? So the content that you need to include, you need to think about what you would expect as a visitor. So let's think very clearly. Most people like to see a homepage. Most people need to have information about how to contact you, and they also want to know a little bit about your company. I always say, put your contact information as close to the top as possible. So if you can have it in the banner of your website so that the first thing they see is your business name and your contact information, because you need to think that most people are visiting your website on their mobile phone. So visiting it on their mobile phone means that it's a tiny little screen. So they can't have a big scroll. On the computer, they can have a big scroll. So on the mobile phone, it's only a small screen. They want things to be quick and easy and clickable. So you need to have your email address in there, you need to have your contact phone number in there, and both of those things need to be clickable links. If I'm on my mobile phone and I want to call you, all I want to do is click on that number and it starts calling you. I don't want to have to copy and paste it into my phone or write it down somewhere so I can remember it. Make sure, and all websites can do this, make sure it's a clickable link to phone. Make sure it's a clickable link to your email. So I would definitely have that. There needs to be at the footer, at the bottom. I would be putting your information at the footer in the bottom as well. And the reason why is it's a very old school thing that when websites were originally built, that was where the contact information went. So some people, when I say some people, I'm saying, if you're probably 40 plus and you were dealing with websites back in the day, you'll know that everyone scrolled to the bottom and that's where the information is. So they might jump onto a site and just instantly scroll to the bottom to look for that information. You also need to have your social media links on there. And I don't mind whether this is at the top or the bottom of the page, but you need to have any links through to your social media simply by having a little Facebook icon and having that link through to your website. And every website builder has that function and available for you as well. You need to make sure that there's not too many pictures on there, and make sure, I know some websites when you build them, you have a desktop website, which is where we traditionally build it, and then you have a mobile website. Please check the mobile website and make sure that there's not too much information on there. It may be that you have to remove some words on the mobile website because it's too wordy. You don't want to be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling just to get through the first paragraph. So have a look at how your site looks on a mobile phone and make it really user-friendly. Some platforms allow you to be able to edit a desktop and a mobile version. So you can have two different sites essentially. So same content, but maybe slightly less wordy on the mobile phone one. And as I said before, all your pictures need to be clickable links. That is going to help with your SEO as well. Excellent. So have you successfully used QR codes to generate traffic to your website? This is an interesting question, Steve, because I think with COVID, everybody now uses QR codes. QR codes came in, they were fantastic, and then everybody stopped using them because nobody really knew anything about them. And I think COVID across the country has now got us where you don't go to a restaurant without signing into the QR code. If you didn't know what it was before, you now know what it is. So I think it's really important to have QR codes, but you need to think of it practically as well. If I'm on my mobile phone and you have a QR code on your website, I can't actually use that QR code. I'd have to get another device to actually go over that QR code. So here's where I see QR codes becoming really effective. Networking, rather than handing out a business card, you could have a QR code that people could simply scan to get your information or send you to the homepage of your screen. On the back of your business card, having your QR code to your website means that someone can just hover their camera of their mobile phone over it and get to your website straight away. So I think that's more important part to have it. Any type of special offer that you might be having on a flyer, for those of you that are still doing flyers and letterbox drops, I know there are some out there, having QR codes on that as well. And that gets them to your website and to the relevant information that they are after. So thank you so much, Therese. She sent me a direct message saying that she's had to leave. I know I've gone a little bit over today and I do have a few minutes to go, but I just wanted to make sure that I got through a few important points and answer your questions. So there is 10 of these strategies. And I'm not going to get through the whole entire 10. And that's why you're going to be getting the book today. So you're going to be getting the book that goes through each and every one of these steps, gives you all of the information on it, and isn't a very sit down on the weekend, read it over a couple of hours, you'll be done. It's not even going to take that long. You could even pick out the strategies. One tip on that I will say is that we normally just pick out the strategies that we like to start off with and the ones that make us feel uncomfortable, like contacting someone about being a guest poster on their website, we tend to avoid. But the other strategies, you could participate in online forums, which I know aren't very big these days, but they still have a place because it does they are still out there and they do still have conversations. Make sure that you reference other websites. For example, if you're an accountant, make sure you reference the ATO and link through to the ATO. And the reason why I tell you this is because Google will see you as giving reputable advice if you are linking through to a reputable website. So if you're in the health industry and you can link through to Queensland Health or whatever the health authority is, then done. For our website, for its example, it's being able to link through to Regional Development Australia or being able to link through to the federal government ASBAS program. That builds confidence in Google. You're linking through to these very reputable sites. So that's another way that you can help build your reputation and get more people to your website. Collaborating with others, I've already briefly spoken about. Think about people in your industry or just outside your industry who you could collaborate with, because then you're reaching their audience also. Thinking differently, advertising a little bit differently. I've got a whole strategy number 8 on advertising and thinking outside the box. So I think you'll find that very interesting as well. Comment on blogs. Here's another one. Traffic strategy number 9, going onto other websites, reading up information and commenting on the blog at the bottom. What will happen? Guaranteed, that person will go to your website and they'll comment on one of your blogs. The more people that go to your websites, the more comments that you have on your blogs, then you will get a lot. I always wanted to start, and maybe I will start something where once a month I get together with anybody who's interested via a Zoom call. We put all of our websites into the chat and we make a commitment to actually go through and comment on people's blogs, and they can comment back. So we create a bit of a, bit of a blog club, I guess you would call it. But that is a really good way. I actually had a lady, I went and commented on a blog. She wrote an article. She's in the Northern Territory, and I'm having a real mental blank about what her business is, but she dealt in the digital education space similar to us, but with different platforms. So I was reading up, doing some research for a client, came across her article and thought I would just type, hey, this has been a really great article. I was looking for something for a client. Yeah, great content. You've answered a lot of questions. Thanks for that. She actually then came over to my website, commented on one of my blogs and sent me an email and said, look, we're kind of in the same industry, but we're kind of different. Would you consider collaborating together? Now, in 2 weeks' time, I have an online webinar with her where she's going to talk about one thing to do with her business, and then I'll be talking about another thing to do with mine. And that all came from a very first simple blog post that she had, and I put a comment on. So that can be a really great strategy as well. And strategy number 10 is creating different forms of content. So again, guys, this will all be in the book. I will make sure that you get all of that. So just got another one here regarding to linking through to other sites. My business is an online directory connecting travelers with travel agents with niche expertise. At the moment, I have a contact page that goes directly through to the agent. This is to be able to track traffic through the site. Is it in my best interest as they pay a subscription to be on the site? Yes, absolutely. Would it be in my best interest to keep them on my site this way, or should I link the customer to the agent's site? This is a really good question, Jeanette. In a perfect world, I would be creating a page for each travel agent. So, and keeping them on my own website and keeping control of that kind of side of it. And then within that page, having a link to their site if they actually got that far. Because you might be linking them to a website that's inferior. Does that make sense? If you link them through to a website that doesn't have the right setup or the right information on it, they're just going to be disgruntled and kind of walked away. So my website is altitudebusinesssolutions.com.au for those of you who want to go and check out what it looks like now and get ready for the revamp in 2 weeks because we're nearly finished. So yeah, I would be creating a page and going through, oh, sorry, Annette, you're probably asking for Jeanette. I just saw that. So yeah, I would be creating a separate page for each travel agent. And I know that's a lot of work. Can you give me an idea how many how many travel agents that you deal with? Like what kind of, are we talking, 10, are we talking 20, are we talking 100? Because obviously that would make a difference to that as well. And I'm happy to chat more to you about that offline if that makes a difference. So you guys will get a copy of all of this information today, including the full 10 steps, which basically has a chapter on each step. So you can go through and you'll be able to follow it. So I'll make sure I get that out to you in the next 24 or 48 hours. They have their own profile pages at the moment, about a dozen, always adding agents. Yeah, great. Okay, so that's manageable. How about you and I have a conversation about this via the phone? We'll have a phone conversation about it. I'll look up your details and, or maybe you could just send me an email. If you don't mind sending me an email, I'll put my email address into the chat for you now. And if you can just send me an email. There we go. So that's my email address. If you'd like to send me an email, I'm happy to talk to you more about this offline, or if you have any questions, guys, I'm happy to answer those for you as well. A lot of people ask when our next coming workshops are up, because we do talk about a few. So our next upcoming workshop is on Canva. So it's creating and scheduling using Canva Pro, which I briefly touched on earlier. It is a 2-hour workshop, so it's double the amount of time that we get today. So we get to go through a lot more, and hopefully I won't have any technical issues on that day. So creating and scheduling using Canva saves you a lot of time. Our next free webinar, which will certainly interest you, is winning the SEO game. So search engine optimization, you get a lot out of that one as well. So that is a free webinar that you can go just like today, go through and join. For those of you that have been through the ASBAS program before, you'll notice that we do have one-on-one sessions, which are normally $66. We have our online 2-hour workshops, and we have our free webinars running for you at the moment. My advice to you is get in and register for as many free webinars as you can. We never know how long they're going to remain free, and they do go to being paid at some stage. They sort of flick them from free to paid. So go through and have a look at all of that information. I know that there's been a lot of talking from me today, and it always is when it's a subject like this. The book that you will receive, you can expect to receive that in 24 to 48 hours. It will become your Bible when it comes to your website. And if you just go through and try and tick each of those 10 suggestions off, some of them you're going to go, you know what, that's not me, I'm not going to do that. But others you'll be like, wow, that's fantastic. So hopefully you'll get a lot of information out of that. If there's no last minute questions that I can answer, then I'm going to sign off and say goodbye for today. But as I said, I've put my email address in the chat there, and please don't hesitate to send me an email or flick me an email, and I will reply with some words of wisdom if I can. So thanks guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I really look forward to hopefully seeing you in a workshop or talking to you again soon.